Baik, terima kasih teman-teman wartawan. Very good afternoon. I think we are going to use English, although I can see that many of the Indonesian. We've already finished with the launching of Pandemic Fund. This is one of a very concrete deliverable, which is also the highest priority among the 3 priorities that President Jokowi has already outlined when we are taking the presidency of the G20. One priority is actually how the world learn from this devastating pandemic by preparing better and have the response, have the ability to respond. Cepat ini. Mati. Karena dari ininya deh. Matiin. Ya. Mungkin dari dalam dimatiin kali. Oke. Okay. Cek. So the pandemic fund is one of the very important milestone at starting point for all of us to be able to better prepare and better respond for the next pandemic. I think that is the most important message. How we are going to better prepare and better respond for the next pandemic. And this is just one milestone which require a lot of homework need to be done. And that's why the message of today, okay. Hello? Okay.
No,
it's okay.
The virus just entered the microphone, so we need, to find the vaccine first.
Yeah. So why don't we just start? Yeah. So this is the starting point for all of us globally to be able to work together to better prepare and better response. What is really encouraging from what you have already heard from all contributors for this pandemic fund, first, the G20 delivered. So under this very critical threat to the global economy as well as the safety of the people, the G20 as a group really responding effectively. This is one of the example, establishing pandemic fund. The second one, which is also important from this pandemic symbolically, if you hear many of all the few today, whether this is from the United States and then European Commission and then China, India, which is going to be the next presidency, the spirit of multilateralism and collaboration is very, very strong. And this is not just the expression of normative statement, but also the ability to overcome many obstacles to cooperate. Because under current circumstances, I think the spirit of cooperation and multilateralism is very, very important. And we are all just heard that all committed to work together. Why? Because pandemic, just like climate change, these are all global public threats. So no country can actually address this threat alone. And that's why cooperation as well as working together in a multilateral institution or arrangement is becoming very, very important. The third one, the 20 contributor, which is today just been announced, 17 are countries and then 3 from the foundation or philanthropists. This is representing a quite diverse countries as well as philanthropies. So that's also showing that this pandemic fund will representing a diversity of source of income, and also in terms of the usage, it's going to be also diverse in terms of the need from many countries, especially low and middle income countries, to strengthen their health system, regional cooperation and mechanism, as well as the global arrangement. I think this is going to be a very, very good symbol of how all parties from different in terms of background or level of income, they can contribute and work together to address the issue of the global threat. So we are very happy with this achievement, and also at the same time we will continue supporting the development and evolvement of this fund. The chairmanship of this fund is two, that is Dr. Khatib Basri and Dr. Ngamije from Rwanda. This also hopefully will deliver many of the homework that still need to be done. Strengthening governance, inclusivity, transparency, as well as the ability to effectively respond to this kind of pandemic preparedness. Pak Budi. Punya, Pak. Punya.
I just want to continue what Ibu Sri Mulyani has mentioned is about the continuation of Joint Finance and Health Ministers Working Group. Because now we realize that pandemic or global health crisis can have a major financial impact to global economy. COVID-19 pandemic or global health crisis has impacted more than 12 trillion US dollar to global economy, which is much bigger than the previous global financial crisis. So that's why the ministers, the G20 countries believe that we will continue, the cooperations between finance and health ministers for the Indian presidency and beyond. It is because we believe that both of us working together, it will prevent the future pandemic, the future global health crisis, and the future global financial crisis. I think I just want to add that one, Bu. Thank you.
Two questions. Okay, two questions. Yes, one, two. Yeah. Go ahead.
Silakan teriak saja. Why don't you just?
With that, Oh yeah. With that, Bu, with France and the two other countries, is it still 20 donors at the moment, or more than that? And when was France decided to be donors? Yesterday or on Friday? Just clarify that because I'm from French.
Okay. First, of course, the obstacle to establish this pandemic fund is actually how we are going to be, we were able to build trust, especially among the G20. Because at that time, when the leaders mandating us to establish this fund, there are many differences regarding what kind of fund, whether this is competing with WHO, whether this is going to establish a totally different governance at the global level. So that's why really creating trust and bridging all these differences by first convincing that this is the funding which is going to strengthen the international health architecture, including the role of WHO, which is going to be strengthened by supporting, especially on the funding side. The second one is, of course, the question regarding what kind of governance that is need to be built. Whether this is going to be like the IMF World Bank, which is a quota-based or shareholder-based, that is how much you contribute will actually decide how much the voting share, or this is going to be like the UN in which one country, one vote system. So basic governance is going to be very important. Okay. Okay. Ini virus.
Virus can reinfect.
Virus. This is
Reinfection of virus.
Pak Menkes bilang ini adalah kena yang kedua diinfeksi, so need booster. Okay. So this kind of governance is becoming very, very important to be discussed. That's why a lot of the discussion on the normative level asking about the inclusivity of the membership as well as the transparency and what is the basic principle. And that is the two paper which is already being issued by the governing board under the leadership of Pak Khatib Basri and Pak Ngamije, that is Menteri Kesehatan from Rwanda. With that, a lot of progress being made. Now, many countries is becoming now convinced first, what is really the role of this funding? How this is going to complement with the other mechanism, including how this is going to fit with the global health architecture and the role of WHO. When this is becoming clearer, then many countries then starting to think about, okay, then I will contribute. That is in answering to your question. That's including France, which is last night announcing that they convinced with the proposal, with the mechanism, with the governance, and that's why France decided to contribute. The amount will be announced by President Macron during the summit. I think we are going to continue doing that to attract more and more countries to contribute, because at the end, this is a support for global public health, which is going to benefiting all countries. The more countries have resources, of course, the more that we expect that they are willing to contribute, so that it will then create what we call it the real global public health mechanism. Udah ya?
Tes. Ya. Intan Pak dari Republika, kemarin kan Bapak bilang bahwa di tahun depan kita udah bisa mengakses dana itu, sedangkan Bapak juga punya agenda untuk reformasi kesehatan kita gitu. Nah, implementasinya itu ketika kita mendapatkan dana itu tuh rigidnya seperti apa sih Pak, bisa dielaborasi nggak? Kalau Bapak kemarin bilang ada bioteknologi, pengembangan bioinformatik itu nanti itu seperti apa, dan kita butuh timeline berapa lama untuk bisa mengembangkan hal itu. Di satu sisi kita juga punya dana penelitian, dana pendidikan, yang itu bisa nggak sih Pak dikolaborasikan dengan pandemic fund ini? Makasih Pak.
All the member has mentioned that they want to focus, they want to start fast, but they want to focus on key important items. One of them is surveillance. Second is capabilities building. So that is aligned with our objective. Indonesia would like to strengthen our public health network. So we have a much better surveillance mechanism for 17,000 islands that we have, 270 million people. If there is another pandemic, either bacteria or virus or parasite that hit and become an outbreak in any region. So that is aligned. So we will submitting proposal for this pandemic fund related with surveillance. Second is capability building. It is also very, very aligned with our key objectives. Like example, we don't have enough doctors, we don't have enough specialists, we don't have enough lab analysts to man these, devices. So that is also the key initiative that will be valued by this pandemic fund, to make sure each of the country have the national surveillance capability, and also has the national people capability for the future pandemic. And we will definitely align the funding with the existing funding that we have domestically.